So I think maybe you've caught an episode or two.
I have. I studied at least a little bit.
So how things are done around here, we got the red baggie, and we're gonna answer some questions, some Fran Dev questions. And just a reminder, we are here just on behalf of ourselves to share our honest, open, transparent views and perspectives. We're not representing any brands, and we don't really talk about brands specifically. So hopefully you can answer and be enlightened and enlighten the people a little bit about Fran Dev.
All right.
Let's get to it. So you'll pick the question and then hand it on over, and we'll get into it.
The energy on this one is good. This one.
All right. Ooh, I didn't know we were going to be coming out swinging. Okay. Where in the vetting process might good candidates be getting left out?
Amazing.
And how can we fix it?
That's the real question. So in terms of the vetting process, I usually say approval process is the first thing I'll say, not to be too picky about terminology, because I think as long as we know what we're all talking about, really at the end of the day, it's okay.
Yeah.
I prefer approval, first of all, to vetting. These are not animals. These are people. I grew up on a farm. Vetting is different for me.
Absolutely.
So in the approval process, it's an interesting thing because I do think there are a lot of different drop-off points. And part of that's by design. We cannot and should not award an opportunity to everyone.
Yes.
But I think a stage where I have seen the most opportunity is actually in the initial kind of intro stage. I think that we can be missing good candidates at that stage. Again, because we're talking about losing good candidates.
Yes.
If there is a lack of transparency, if they perceive your process as opaque, frustrating, shrouded in mystery, I think if we don't do a good job of breaking down what it is we expect of them along the rest of the approval process and what it is we're offering, if we cannot be clear and simple in our message and process, you'll lose people right from that point, especially in the franchise space. A lot of the time our audience is, in many cases, obviously depending on your brand, often their first time business owners. This is kind of their first foray into entrepreneurship. The reason why they're exploring franchise is because they want structure.
Yes.
And so if you have a process that, your Fran Dev process is not mirroring the type of structured processes you have in your business model, well, there's already a bit of a clash
disconnect there. Yeah.
So transparency is huge. Not assuming that candidates know everything we're talking about. That would be a major drop-off point in my experience, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But a second opportunity equally, and this is one that is always shocking to me, interviews. How thoughtfully are your interview processes actually built? First of all, are you winging it? Right? Which happens. It happens.
We know.
People are winging it out there. People are like, oh, I'm just going to talk to this person. And it's fun to just
feel
talk
them
to
out.
People. But this is not a, coffee. This is, we're trying to assess somebody and decide, if this is a mutual fit.
Yes.
So I think your interview grids need to be, first of all, existent.
Yes.
They need to be around. And I think they need to be really thoughtfully designed. You want to be asking questions that actually help you understand the candidate and particularly their skills. Something that I will, this is the hill I'm going to die on.
Yeah.
Anyone who's met me and worked with me in a Fran Dev space knows I say this all the time. Experience and skills are two different things. Experience is where someone has existed over a portion of their life or a portion of their career.
Yes.
It doesn't mean they learned anything. It doesn't mean they were necessarily good at it.
That part. I'm
we can pause there
because that part.
Yeah.
I've met some great leaders, motivating people who may not have done exactly my role or done the tasks that are a part of my scope or responsibility, but they know enough about the way things happened, the processes around it, and we're able to speak on the same level. I've also met some managers, is what I'll call them, because they're different than leaders,
Yeah.
who have no clue, aren't interested in having a clue, and therefore end up steering me in the wrong direction, slowing me down. And so taking the time to understand every single part of the process involved in vetting or recruiting a new franchise partner is so critical, not just for the person doing the interview, but for everyone that's involved in the process from start to finish, including the interviewer. That doesn't matter if it's the operations interviewer, there to specifically vet that part. If it's the finance interviewer, maybe really interested in getting into the numbers and having them explain that part.
Yeah.
But having that process in place to understand, to your point, the skills and the experience and how they come together,
Yeah.
or not,
right? It can be either one.
Yeah.
It's exciting when we see a candidate with what seems like a very relevant or accomplished background. We need to remember a few things. Not everyone's had the same opportunities in life to build those backgrounds that look so impressive.
Yes.
And skills can be built in non-traditional environments. So a well-designed interview grid that helps you assess specifically for skills is going to help you mitigate bias. It's going to help you achieve better results and really focus on higher quality candidates. I just think there's so many benefits to it, and it's such low-hanging fruit to actually just sit down and
develop
it, right?
Yeah.
It's not something that you need to make a huge investment as an organization. You can do it.
Yeah.
Like, it's something I really believe. You know, you take the week or so to sit down, brainstorm it out, refine it a little bit, identify the skills that you want to assess for. And there's all kinds of tools out there that you can use to even refine these things, right? You can find sample interview grids online. You can educate yourself on it pretty well if it's not a space you're comfortable in.
Yes.
I also think that we can educate ourselves in FranDev in this particular part of the process. You know, there's resources built for recruiters who are hiring rather than doing FranDev. Right. There's a little bit of overlap.
Yeah.
I think if we know our roles, we know where that overlap ends.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean that we can't learn from the hiring kind of recruiting space as well.
Yeah. When I reflect back on the question a little bit about, you know, where are candidates potentially getting left behind, because I've seen a really different change in the landscape of applicants in the franchising space, where many of them are immigrants.
Absolutely.
Or first-generation Canadians. They're coming with cultural differences. They're coming with different work experiences, skills, and not having those systems and processes and tools built in a way that considers that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can absolutely filter out and disadvantage people that are qualified, passionate, great fits. Some of the most successful franchise partners I've worked with across brands have been new immigrants. Fastest growing. They're the best ambassadors because they tell their friends and family, and
You're absolutely
they share their success stories with their communities and bring more people in, and you know, you're able to achieve great things. And so, you know, when you mention not having taking steps to not have bias creep into those decisions, can you share maybe one or two tips specifically around supporting this kind of new wave and new generation of entrepreneurs and franchise partners? What are some steps that, you know, FranDev professionals can take to make sure their systems are built in an inclusive way?
Yeah, specifically for newcomers.
Yes, for sure.
So steps that you can take to make sure that you're building a system that's inclusive to newcomers. You know, first thing is we want to really do a bit of a gut check. And again, skills and experience are different. Yeah. Experience is still something we look at because it gives us a starting point. Don't discount experience from another country. So many times I'll have an initial conversation with a candidate who is a newcomer or a new Canadian, and they'll, you know, give me their background and they start with, well, I moved to Canada and then they tell me what they did since then. They lived a whole life before that. right? What other experiences and skills have you built wherever you have been before you got here now? So the first thing is just to actually be aware that skill doesn't only exist in Canada.
Hey, that
So that
part.
part, like to really open up, and actually, ask the question. A lot of them, I think they're used to having their back home. If they always say back home, and I love
Yes.
that, like, because it's the heart position. They're used to having their back home experience kind of minimized or discounted.
Yeah.
And so they might not volunteer it. So go ahead and ask. Give
Yeah.
people the opportunity to share their story and watch them light up in front of you. That's what we should be doing with our
Yes.
candidates, is giving them the opportunity to shine. Another thing that I would say that we can do to make the early stages of our process more inclusive to newcomers, be mindful of jargon or industry-specific words. There are 2 words that seem pretty simple if you've been in this space for a while, that a newcomer or even just someone new to business might not understand in the same way that we mean it. And one of those words is opportunity. We often talk about, the franchise opportunity
Yeah.
we are offering. Opportunity means a lot of things in a lot of contexts.
Yeah.
What does that mean? If it's that this is an opportunity, to own a region or a market, is this an opportunity, to develop new in a province, right? Like, you need to actually define what you mean when you say opportunity. What's a franchise opportunity? Is it a franchise for sale? Like, what is it?
Yeah.
Use
I
layman's
love
terms.
that, because the experience of opening a new unit or breaking into a new market is very different than a resale opportunity or a resale experience. Is very different than coming in and building brand new. And is very different from owning and then rapidly growing or scaling at a multi-unit level, which we are seeing a lot more multi-unit franchisees come through, right? That are interested in developing 2, 3, 4, 5 units over a certain amount of time. A lot of development agreements happening too. So really taking the time to clarify that
the
is
language.
important. Yeah.
And I guess I would say, like, the opportunity thing has been on my mind. It's been sort of a top of mind thing for me lately. I've been kind of delving a little bit into, keywords and things like that. What are people searching online when they are trying to find what I call a franchise opportunity? And a lot more people are searching on Google or whatever search engine, franchise for sale. Franchise opportunity ranks a lot lower in search results. And so that can give us a little bit of insight into language people are using and comfortable with. We can actually use that data, talk to your marketing teams, use that data, see what language people are using, and use that language back to them for better understanding. And the second word that, again, feels comfortable to those of us already in this space, but might not be as clear for those just joining, again, whether new to Canada or just new to business, is the word we toss around all the time: investment. The investment is, right? Usually, at least in the spaces I've worked, usually when we talk about the investment or the initial investment, we mean the entire cost to open the new business.
Yes.
Build cost, equipment cost, some soft costs in there, all those things. And we throw out a big number, like whatever your business model, whatever your typical initial investment is, whether it's $1 million, 500,000, whatever. We'll say, the investment is $1 million. Someone who's new to this space doesn't know exactly what that means as it applies to them. Does that mean I need $1 million in my bank right now? I don't have that, right? What does that mean?
Yes.
You want to make sure you're very clear about that. They might be confusing investment with cash required.
Right.
So use specific language, use layman's terms. Don't be afraid to define these concepts to help people understand what our requirements are. If I'm on an initial call with a candidate and I say the initial investment's $1 million and I just skip on to my next point, that person might not call me back or pick up my call the next time I reach out to them, because they're like, well, I don't have $1 million, Allison, right? Like, you have to be aware of your communication skills and how people are understanding words that feel familiar to us. Do they mean the same thing to the person hearing them? Yeah. So that's an easy one as well, I guess I would say.
Yeah, and you make really great points, and thank you for sharing those two examples. Those are two very good examples. And when I talk to people about the steps that you might take to start working on that, or making sure that you're hitting the mark and that your intentions are actually landing the impact, check in with people. So reach out to a candidate and say, hey, did you have any questions? I wanted to provide an opportunity. There's clarity here. Maybe bring in a small focus group or test group where you can put some documents in front of them and get some live feedback and see what questions come up. So I love that you brought up data and working with marketing teams on, search engines like Google, because I think that's a great place to start as well. And don't be afraid to tap into a little AI magic, because that's there too, a resource that's there. Yeah, I love that. Okay.
Yeah.